No, the photographer. No, the retired photographer.
Yeah.
But it's actually, if I said to you they're blueprints, you'd all know exactly what I meant, wouldn't you? Because in actual fact they are blueprints because it's an easy method of reproducing stuff on a large scale. So very popular with engineers. They still use blueprints.
No, not
So-
like
no.
so computer edited. Is that
Sorry?
computer edited? Is
Computer aided, yeah.
Yeah, so papers.
Okay. What was the only thing with Simon Times Phil when you, I mean, it's out of your area, isn't it? That you know about it.
Only in
It's-
college.
But it's very, I'll keep it quite brief so that you don't nod off while I'm talking about it. But it's a process that was developed by Sir John Herschel in 1840. And the first book published with a photograph in it was a book of cyanotypes by an English botanist, Anna Atkins. She published a book in 1841 with handmade cyanotype photographs because they are a form of photograph. You don't have to have a camera to make a photograph. You just need light and something that's been sensitized that will expose an image, and that's what it is. I'm just going to show you very briefly how it works. I find it really interesting. So I have to pretend you find it interesting. It works like this, and it kind of goes hand in hand with the development of film being used in cameras. So the first photograph taken was in 1826, so a good 20 years or so before cyanotype. But it works a little bit like this. It's a combination of two chemicals, potassium ferric cyanide and ferric ammonium citrate, and you mix them together and you brush them onto a piece of art paper using a brush like that, which will give you a colour. These are old ones now, they're faded a bit, but something like that. And if you put items on top of that sensitised paper, you have to keep it dark when you close it, so I try with the airing colour. But if you put an item on top and expose it to sunlight, or ultraviolet light, you'll get an image like that. So that's a straightforward cyanotype. The problem is if you use clumpy materials, it kind of blocks all the light out and you don't get the same finesse. The feather works well because it filters the light partly as it goes through it. So to get the type of images that I wanted for the book, they're actually digital photographs that are then converted to black and white and then converted to a negative. If you switch the blacks and the whites around, you turn the positive into a negative. And if you print that negative on overhead projector film, you can then lay it on top of your sensitized paper. It looks like this. Anyone fallen asleep yet? I did. I was asked to give a talk to some Camera Society. It's good in the front row they were nodding on. That's why I've not put too many chairs. I've been here before. I'm not daft. I know how it works. So you answer that very, very clearly, can you? But that is how it looks as a negative printed on. There's another one, mushroom. And when they're printed off, they look like that. So these two are in the book, and like that. So to develop, the paper would change from that colour to that colour after you develop it. You develop it in cold water, so you don't need any chemicals. So it's quite nice. You just rinse it in cold water, and you end up with this lovely Prussian blue colour. And if you give it a final wash of hydrogen peroxide, you can deepen the blue. They then get scanned back in, and I put them back into Lightroom where I crop them and what have you to put them into the book. So that's the process, and I thought you might find that quite interesting, or not. Either way, you now know what it is. The other part of the recipes, I've used a variety of photographs to illustrate the dishes. as you would expect, but I've taken some, let's just go back to that last one. I'm quite taken with early still life from the Dutch masters, people like Chardin, or the Spanish, what was that there? Early 18th century Spanish artists like Juan Sanchez Cotan, and people like that, and they've got this very big atmospheric and gentle way of painting, that actually there are some photographers, Laura Latinsky is one, very well-known American photographer. She teaches at the University of Chicago, and she's very much into that particular style, sort of extending that still life genre, if you like, by using photographs. And there are a couple that sort of that pay homage to that. I'll just move that one on a little bit to the next one, because this is another cyanotype, and it's actually to illustrate the little chapter on MSG, which is not actually, well, we don't think of it of MSG, we call it umami. The fifth section is actually MSG, and it was developed by Japanese scientists at the University of Tokyo in 1912, so quite a long time ago. And it's derived from seaweed, which are full of glucinates, which give you that lovely savoury flavour. And he mixed it with salts, so it was commercially saleable. So monosodium glutamate, that's exactly what it is. It was called umai originally, which is Japanese for tasty. They thought it needed a bit more than that, so they sat down and got their heads together and they came up with umami, which literally translates as tasty taste. And that's it. It was manufactured by the Suzuki Pharmaceutical Company under the brand name Ajinomoto, which you might have heard of. So it's quite a long history, but it's MSG. Now, getting back to this, so that picture there, which is a little bit obscure, I accept, is kelp seaweed, which is what it's derived from. And it's a cyanotype that has been toned with rooibos tea. After it's been developed, I've toned it with solution of rooibos tea. So you can get different colours you can play around with a little bit. So I don't want you to think I've just banged these out. There's quite a lot of thought that's gone into it. And many of them have been reworked quite a lot. So this one here, that's been toned with a solution of turmeric on the paper to give that yellow tinge on the leaf. If I just pause on this one. Too slow. There you go. Some of the photographs, I didn't want to try to move away from just preparing the dish and photographing as it is. I wanted to do something a little bit more creative with it. There's another Korean-American photographer, Esther Choi, and she's written a wonderful book, and it's a play on designers and creatives past and present, and she's created dishes based on their name, but also on their practice. So Grossier, for example, there's a dish that represents the furniture that he used to make, and the dishes that come on his name, and there's loads of stuff like that. And it's just an example of how you can take a photograph of food and deconstruct it. So it doesn't actually have to be representative of the dish. So that's now very much sort of Chardin inspired in terms of its composition and its lighting. Hopefully you know what I mean, don't you? See that?
Yeah.
Hopefully there's a bit of a nod to Dutch.
You can take photos as well, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
He's a clever one.
Yeah. So I was thinking that you were art directing somebody.
No, it's the same with the first book.
Well.
Yeah, good photograph, wash up.
Because that is a brilliant recreation.
And That's the only one out because I needed something to illustrate the station on rice. And I can't get any grains of rice or anything, so it's a photograph that I took in Vietnam a while ago and cropped it down. So this is another example, and it's a dish that they used to make on the Spanish workshop, arroz negro, black rice. And it went through about 4 versions of this. And initially I just photographed it in the dish as I would do it on the workshop. Somebody may have done it with me. With the sokora, which they usually make with saffron rice, but this has got squid ink and sokora as well. And in the end, I just splashed it all out on the top. I think, well, it doesn't actually have to be as you would eat it. It's not necessarily serving suggestions as, you know, it can be a little bit, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So somewhere, and I don't want people to look at a recipe and think, oh, this is how it's got to look. It doesn't really matter. It's a collection of ingredients, isn't it?
Mine would probably look like that.
There you go, there you go. So, I think, anyway, you've watched all those flick through. I did, I submitted a manuscript to a few publishers, out of interest, never expected to hear anything. And funny enough, I did. On Friday, Austin Recording Publishers offered me a publishing contract with conditions though, so it's not a done deal. But they really liked it, and it's always nice because I think when you do stuff like this, it's really hard. And you get to the end of it and you think, I don't know. I went around the houses with it. I reworked loads of photographs and think, I don't know if it's any good or not. You don't know, do you? It's really hard. It's really hard to tell. I think my own worst critic, but they seem to like it. They said they found it an indispensable and appealing cookbook, which I quite liked. They were a little bit flowery and some of them really with Jim on Saturday. So, but and it was a really nice lesson. But they also like photography work as well. So they've been successful in capturing this vibrancy. They said that they think Seasons to Taste is a worthy addition to the genre, has the potential to succeed, and would be a great addition to our cookery book collection. So.